the lesson guidance then for the case study on the fight against lung cancer in the 21st century, and how so many of the themes that we have been studying over the last few months pull together in the 20th and 21st century to tackle the case study of lung cancer. The use of science, the development of technology for both diagnosis and for treatment, and then the role of the government, the end of laissez-faire, and the total role that government now plays in the health of the people in the United Kingdom. So clearly a concluding part of the course here on the final section. So we're going to unscramble the key words. I'm going to give them all to you. You can obviously pause at any point. We will then go through and you are expected to expand and correct your notes in green pen so you understand the words, the period they're from and their significance. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. A position when you can pause the video now. Okay, so let's amend and go through. Penicillin, the third of our antibiotics, but the ultimate antibiotic, the one that can tackle a whole range of infections, whereas salvaricin and Prontosil could only tackle one particular type of infection. Well, penicillin is an example of a magic bullet or an antibiotic. Transplants, the advance of medicine and surgery through pain, infection and blood loss, and our understanding of anatomy and physiology now enables us to undertake transplants, be it hearts, lungs, kidneys. Dominic, the discoverer of the second antibiotic, Prontosil. World War II. War is both a force for destruction and for advancement and progress. World War II, the necessity to win led to the invention of many forms of technology, in particular that of penicillin, which was an example in turn of an antibiotic. The Beveridge Report was the 1942 plan for how public health care would be delivered potentially in Britain after the end of the Second World War. Everything during the war was free at the point of delivery. People got used to this. People voted for the Labour Party in 1945 on the understanding that they would give free health care at the point of delivery, paid through taxes. You know it as the welfare state and the National Health Service. Watson and Crick were the scientific team that made the final breakthrough in the discovery and structure of DNA, which would lead in turn to the mapping of the human genome in the late 20th century. And finally, the role of technology, be it from the sharp stone that prehistoric man used to drill a hole and trepan or trephine into a patient, through to the technology used in hospitals today to carry out surgery and diagnosis. Over the next few slides then, you will see some key medical developments. Work out which period from our course these breakthroughs are associated with. Medieval, Renaissance, 19th or 20th century. Plastic surgery. 20th century. The use of photographs there, and good photographs would suggest the 20th century. This is plastic surgery as carried out by a surgeon called Harold Gillis to deal with shrapnel wounds in World War I. The electron microscope. The picture is a clue. That will be 20th century. Far more powerful microscopes. Free healthcare. That came about in the 20th century as a consequence of the breakdown of laissez-faire and the increasing role of government in the provision of healthcare services. Fleming's discovery of penicillin was the 20th century, 1929, but his discovery had no practical application until the work of Florey and Chain. Magic bullets, 20th century, the first decade of the 20th century. The Public Health Acts. Within the 19th century, the 1848 Public Health Act, drafted by Edwin Chadwick, which was advisory, through to the 1875 Second Public Health Act, which was compulsory, which those two illustrate the breakdown of laissez-faire. The work of Watson and Crick, the 20th century, the late 1950s. Heart transplants. That's the 20th century. That's Christian Barnard, the South African doctor who carried out the first successful heart transplant. The work of Snow on cholera was the 19th century. The power of the Catholic Church at its height was medieval. You know that its power decreases at the start of the Renaissance and is in decline ever since. Germ theory, clue is in the date, the 19th century. The work of Simpson and his use of chloroform, the scientific progress of the 19th century. Antiseptics to enable the breakthrough in infection control, the 19th century. Remember, the breakthrough in pain came before the breakthrough in infection. That was the Black Period. Vesalius was one of the challenges of the Catholic Church and the ideas of Galen. That was during the Renaissance. And the same with Sydenham. His work was during the Renaissance. Renaissance. Nightingale and her hospital and nursing reforms. This was during the Crimean War, which was in the 1850s, in the 19th century. The Royal Society, the Geek Club, was during the Renaissance. And care not cure in hospitals, medieval. The Great Plague, you have the date, 17th century. It's the end of the Renaissance. And the Black Death, medieval. Harvey was one of the pioneers of physiology during the Renaissance. Okay, starter then. What does the graph tell us about illnesses in the 20th century? You take a look at these. What you can see is we are winning the battle against infectious disease. That, as a cause of death, is declining, but as people live longer because they aren't dying of infectious diseases, consequently, living longer, we're becoming more and more prone to cancers. Heart disease, a much more significant killer, is now in decline. We are dying of different things because we are living longer. It is an estimated fact that there are 6 million rats in Britain and that this has increased 24% over the last few years as a result of fast food thrown away on streets. Another reason for the increase is that water companies have not set as many traps for their sewers as they used to. A female rat will produce 2,000 rats within a single year. All public health issues. In this lesson, we're going to look at the different ways that illness has been prevented throughout the 20th century and how modern-day lifestyles impact on illnesses. Please follow the link. Please read through the case study against cancer. You will find that that is attached as a separate video. What I need you now to do is to complete the worksheet that has been provided. What is lung cancer? Why is it difficult to diagnose? What action is the government taking? The actions of the NHS? The treatments? More than one example. Use the PowerPoint to complete the remaining part of the video.